There's a surprising amount of confusion in the comments about the specific tariffs that I'm on and why I've chosen that. And quite a lot of thinking has gone into the strategy that I'm taking. And this may be right for you, this may be completely rubbish for you, but there is, of course, an element of risk attached to the strategy that I'm taking. But I hope I can briefly outline some of my thinking behind it. So first of all, outgoing Octopus. There's a surprising number of people who are on the Agile Tariff for the incoming rates, but they are also on the Agile Tariff for outgoing rates. I would not recommend that for anyone. If you do want something that matches up incoming and outgoing, then maybe the Flux Tariff is something you should look at. You should probably have a look at Tim and Kat's Green Walk, have a look at some of his videos because he's covered that in far more depth and detail than I could. And he's also, put his money where his mouth is because he's tested that himself in his own house to see if he can win or if he loses. So, but I'm going to talk about my experience and definitely rule out outgoing Agile. Outgoing fixed is the way to go. And that's because for me, with my 22 solar panels on the roof, 9.46 kilowatt peak, 15p for every unit that I export is a higher rate than what I'm paying for the energy that I am importing. Okay, so that is part of my overall strategy of not needing a battery. If I can export more energy than I import, and if I can export it at a higher rate than what I'm importing, then why would I invest and why would I use capital to put into a battery system that will ultimately be unnecessary? Now, you can talk about redundancy or power cuts. You can also talk about helping to decarbonize the grid. Those are separate issues. In this video, I just want to talk about the finances of it and if it makes sense to have a home storage battery. And as you know, I'm well on my way through the first year of testing this, and so far it's looking good, but winter's coming and there's a few more days where maybe I could have done with a battery. Anyway, so outgoing Octopus. Now, I'm using Agile for my incoming tariff, which can be risky. This is the Octopus Home website, and it gives you great graphs here. Actually, this goes to show, you can see that the average export rate on Agile for today is 10p per kilowatt hour, and during the period that I would be exporting most of my energy, it's round about 8 or 9p. So you can see I'm giving up quite a significant chunk if I were to switch from the fixed outgoing onto the Agile outgoing tariff. Anyway, what I want to show to you is that the average import at the moment is 21.72. So you have to take the rough with the smooth. It's pretty high. Yesterday was much worse. The worst I've ever experienced, average 27 pence. You can see at its peak, we were up at 70 pence that we were importing between 6:30 and 7 p.m. And unfortunately, at that time of day, I'm not getting any solar energy and I don't have any home storage batteries. So you really have to make up for it on the times where, for example, here, the rates were negative. So I was being paid, not consistently negative, but you can see at one point there, they were paying me over 1 pence per kilowatt hour that I was using. So I was charging our electric car, I was heating the hot water, I had the dishwasher on, the tumble dryer, everything, you name it. I even set my hot water to heat up to 70 degrees as well when I normally heat it to about 48. And so we were using as much energy as we could, which brings our average rate down. On that day, it says the average rate was 17p. Because I have solar panels and I can avoid a lot of the rate at the middle of the day, my average import rate is consistently lower than what will show on this website. You'll see over the previous months, I've shown you my average for the month, and I've been averaging 13.7p, 12.9p. 1 month I got it just below 12 pence, 11.9 pence. And so I was exporting at 15p, I was importing at 11.9p. So this is the overall strategy, and the seasonal offsetting comes into it, that basically I export everything I possibly can throughout the summer to build up credit in my Octopus account that will pay for my winter bills. So I'm effectively using the grid as a giant, virtual battery, and energy trading. There's loads of terms that people use, and this is the strategy that I've taken. I hope this makes a little bit of sense to people, and you can actually drag this bar at the bottom, and I can show you the trends. So you can see these peaks are roughly 4 to 7 p.m. every day. Sometimes the peak starts a little bit earlier and ends a little bit later, but that's roughly what all of the peaks are. If I just get rid of the export to clean that up a little bit, then you can see all of the import rates. You can see when it's dropped really low, and roughly speaking, it seems to drop really low once a week, which is perfect for us because we only need to charge the EV once a week. If that, we don't really need to, but we charge it to full once a week, which works really well. We get really cheap electricity. It helps us bring down that average unit rate, and it also corresponds, and if this is something important to you, you can see on the lower line there, it shows the carbon intensity as well. Roughly speaking, the expensive times are when the grid is dirty. That's not always the case. There are plenty of anomalies, but generally speaking, when it's very cheap, that's also the times when the grid is the greenest. So it's the times when also we're charging our car at 40-50 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, instead of the really dirty times when we're looking more like over 200 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. I hope this short little video goes to illustrate some of my thinking. A few questions have come in about what am I doing now going into the winter as the heat in demand is ramping up and we're using the heat pump more, and that's becoming a bigger part of our energy usage. Well, I'm using the Octopus Compare app on my phone, and that connects to the Octopus API, so it has all my smart meter data for every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes or whatever interval they upload onto the Octopus API, and it shows me in the app how I'm doing. So far, the Agile Tariff is still working out at half of the cost of if I was on Octopus Cozy. That's at the moment, so I'm saving absolutely loads. Last week, for example, Agile was £16.19 and Cozy was £35.87. So you can see it's actually more than double. The other tariff that I'm watching was the tariff that I was on for last winter, which is the tracker tariff. It's not quite as risky as Agile. You don't need to be quite as conscious of what time of day you're using the electricity, but there isn't so much to be gained by kind of playing the system. So Agile can kind of gamify your energy consumption and your energy use a little bit for you. If you're not interested in that and you're not interested in the risk, then probably don't look at Agile. But if there is a way that you can load shift your appliances and your energy consumption, then there are big gains to be made from Agile. Even some people who have home storage batteries, not me, they are still making big wins from Agile because they can charge in these cheap periods. Otherwise, I'm consistently comparing. I'm basically comparing on a weekly basis. The tracker tariff, the Agile tariff, and the Cozy tariff. Those are the three that kind of make sense for me without a battery, with my use case of having a heat pump in the home and knowing that throughout the winter the heat pump is going to use more energy than basically everything else put together. The EV, everything else, the heat pump will dominate our energy consumption. And so using that wisely and comparing using the Octopus Compare app gives me real data, and I can see that I'm getting closer and closer to the tipping point. And there are now a few odd days here and there where Cozy is a little bit cheaper or tracker is a little bit cheaper than Agile. Over the course of a week and a month, Agile's still winning, but I will keep you updated on how that goes as we progress through the winter. Thank you for watching. If this has any value to you, then give us a like. If you're not with Octopus Agile, in the description you'll find my links of how you can join up with Octopus Energy, not Octopus Agile specifically, but you may be interested in that. It's an interesting tariff, and if you do join up using my link, then I get £50, you get £50 as well. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more of this stuff, and you'll see me again in the future. Goodbye.